Okay, let's untack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a stack of sources you've shared about one of the most talked about true crime cases in recent memory, the Idaho murders. Our mission really is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, everything from those strange pre-murder incidents that kind of hinted something was wrong, all the way to the recent plea deal and the sentencing. You're going to get the full picture here, and that includes some genuinely surprising details that have only just come to light. What's fascinating, I think, is how these new details, especially the ones involving Kaylee Goncalves' dog, Murphy, well, they add layers to the narrative we thought we knew. Let's start there, actually, with one of the most unusual pieces of information. The strange behavior of Murphy, Kaylee Goncalves' dog, in the months leading up to the murders. It almost sounds like something out of a suspense novel, doesn't it?
It really does. Friends told investigators that Murphy just started acting strange. Kaylee herself apparently described seeing an unknown male figure near the house, like staring at her when she took Murphy out to go potty.
No.
And her ex-boyfriend backed this up, saying she saw a, quote, shadowy figure behind the house while she was walking the golden doodle.
Wow. A shadowy figure. And Murphy wasn't just vaguely acting strange. Were there specific incidents? Like the dog running away?
That's correct, yeah. Friends reported that Murphy ran up into the bushes behind the house on several occasions and would not return when called. Pretty specific. Another friend talked about Murphy running off into the woods during a Halloween party they had at the house. And get this, partygoers heard noises like someone moving through the woods on foot when they were trying to call the dog back. There was even one time Kaylee and friend came home and found the rear side door standing open and Murphy was missing.
The door was open.
Yeah, though they did find the dog eventually.
Okay, so what does this all point to? I mean, the sources mention speculation, right? About Bryan Kohberger maybe trying to befriend Murphy. Was there ever an official link made there?
Well, that's the important question. The police reports themselves didn't explicitly state if investigators connected Kohberger to these specific incidents with the dog beforehand. However, the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, did say recently in a hearing that Kohberger's cell phone pinged a cell tower near the Goncalves residence way back in July 2022.
July, months before.
Months before, exactly. So while there's no official confirmation he was, trying to lure the dog, that ping suggests a potential prior presence. It certainly adds a layer to the speculation.
It really does. It transforms these maybe random incidents into something potentially more sinister, like pre-offense surveillance.
Exactly. That's how investigators likely viewed it later on.
It's so important, though, to pause here and just remember, these were 4 vibrant young lives. Futures, dreams, all tragically cut short. Before we get deeper into the events, let's just briefly remember who Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were.
Absolutely. They were 4 University of Idaho students. Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen, both 21. Xana Kernodle, 20. And her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, also 20. Kaylee was a senior general studies major. She was actually planning to move to Austin for a marketing job. Madison, she was studying marketing. Kaylee's best friend since 6th grade, apparently. She had plans to move to Boise. Xana was a junior, also in marketing, and Ethan majored in recreation, sport, and tourism management. Just, students with their whole lives ahead.
Yeah. Can you walk us through the night of November 12th, 2022, just before their bodies were discovered? Kind of set the scene for us.
Sure. So on the night of November 12th, Goncalves and Mogen were at a local sports bar. Kernodle and Chapin, they were at Chapin's fraternity party nearby. By about 2 a.m. on November 13th, so early Sunday morning, all 4 of them were back at their rental house, the 3-story place off campus.
Okay, and this is where it gets, well, really chilling, frankly, because there were other roommates in the house. Who were they and what did they experience? This part is just incredible.
Right. 2 other roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funke, were home when the murders occurred. Mortensen, who's often referred to as DM in the documents, she later told police she actually saw a masked man moving through the house that night.
She saw him.
Yes. And recently unsealed text messages from March 2025, they show Mortensen trying to reach her roommates later that morning on November 13th. At 4:22 a.m., she texted Funke, "No one is answering. I'm girly confused, aren't."
Wow. 4:22 a.m.
Yeah. Then she messaged Goncalves at 4:32 a.m. and then again much later, 10:23 a.m., saying, "Friends answer and are you up?"
Oh, man. Just frantic texts. So with all that confusion and fear, how did the 911 call eventually get made, and what did they actually say?
Well, the call wasn't made until 11:58 a.m. on November 13th, so quite a few hours later. According to the transcript, a woman identified as A1, believed to be one of the surviving roommates, told the operator one of the roommates who's passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Mhm.
And then she added, they saw some man in their house last night.
They saw some man. Okay. So how did all these pieces, the scene, the witness account, the later discovery, how did it all lead investigators to Bryan Kohberger? What was the breakthrough?
Bryan Kohberger, right? He was a doctoral candidate over at Washington State University, which is nearby. He was eventually charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. He was actually arrested over a month after the discovery, on December 30th, 2022, back home in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, then extradited to Idaho in early January 2023.
And the key was the DNA, wasn't it?
Absolutely. The key was DNA found on a knife sheath, a Ka-Bar knife sheath, left behind at the crime scene, reportedly near Madison Mogen's body. When this DNA didn't hit anyone in the standard FBI CODIS database, authorities turned to investigative genetic genealogy, using public ancestry websites, basically.
Right, to build a family tree.
Exactly, to create a list of potential suspects. Then, after learning Kohberger had driven cross-country to his parents' home in Pennsylvania, officials there got a warrant to search the family trash. And they found DNA in the trash that was a familial match specifically, a father-son match to the DNA on the sheath. That was the crucial link.
Incredible investigative work, really leveraging that newer tech.
It really showcases how far things have come.
Okay, so let's fast forward. The legal process moves along, and then suddenly the trial set for August 2025 gets canceled. What happened there?
Yeah, that was quite abrupt. Kohberger's murder trial was indeed canceled because he accepted a plea deal from the prosecutors on June 30th, 2025. By taking the deal, he agreed to plead guilty to all 4 counts of murder and the burglary charge. And importantly, he waived his rights to appeal his conviction or ask for a lighter sentence later.
So he formally pleaded guilty.
He did. On July 2nd, 2025, he confirmed to the judge, just saying yes for each victim, that he killed them willingly, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice with forethought.
Chilling. And the sentence, what was the final outcome?
On July 23rd, 2025, Judge Hippler handed down the sentence. It was 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, 1 for each murder count. He also got significant fines, $50,000 for each murder count, plus a $5,000 civil penalty for each victim's family. And for the burglary count, he received 10 years and another $50,000 fine. Kaylee Goncalves' sister, Olivia, gave a really powerful victim impact statement at the sentencing. She looked right at Kohberger and said, "If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are."
Wow. Very powerful words. Now, beyond the legal side, the investigation also turned up some really intriguing, maybe disturbing details about Kohberger's behavior and his digital life.
Right.
One thing that got a lot of attention was a selfie. What was that about?
Yes, the selfie. It was introduced back in March 2025. It shows Kohberger, apparently the morning after the murders, standing in front of a shower, giving a thumbs-up sign.
Thumbs up, the morning after.
Yeah. And prosecutors noted it fit the description given by the witness, Dylan Mortensen, particularly about the perpetrator having bushy eyebrows. But what's really fascinating, or maybe horrifying, is how Kaylee's father, Steve Goncalves, interpreted it. He called it a trophy. He believes Kohberger might have returned to the scene, realized no one had called 911 yet, and took the photo as, in his words, his little trophy to let him know, like, hey, I got away with it, nobody's on me.
That is a deeply unsettling interpretation. And what about his online footprint? What did his search history show?
Well, a Dateline documentary from 2025 went into some of that. His browsing history reportedly included searches for things like Ted Bundy.
Okay, classic serial killer interest.
Right. Also, Britney Spears' song Criminal, interestingly enough, and searches for the term University of Idaho murders itself. And there was also this odd text message. A former classmate named Holly shared a text she got from him back in July 2022 after meeting him briefly at a party. It was apparently very formal, kind of peculiar. It read, "Hey, I am pretty sure we spoke about hiking trips yesterday. I really enjoy that activity, so please let me know. Thanks."
Yes.
Stiff. Yeah.
Very stiff, almost robotic sounding. Now, connecting some of these behavioral dots, his defense team brought up autism spectrum disorder, right? How did that play into their arguments?
Yes, that became a significant point, especially earlier on when the death penalty was still on the table. His initial defense attorneys argued that Kohberger has ASD. They claimed he displays things like extremely rigid thinking, perseverates on specific topics, processes information on a piecemeal basis, struggles to plan ahead, and demonstrates little insight into his own behaviors and emotions. Quote. Their argument essentially was that this created an unconscionable risk that he will be executed because of his disability rather than his culpability.
So they were suggesting his cognitive differences affected his level of legal responsibility.
Precisely. It raised complex questions about culpability versus cognitive function, though ultimately, with a plea deal, it didn't proceed to a trial where this would be fully argued in that context.
Okay. We've really covered a lot of ground here. We've taken this deep dive into the recent revelations surrounding the Idaho murders,
Okay.
from